I gave you no warning. But we went ahead and turned on live stream, and whenever you're ready.
Yeah, sure. So here we go live. Welcome everyone to Meshery Development Meeting. Today is November 2023, and as we all know, but if some of us don't know, that Meshery is a cloud native foundation project. So you all can contribute to Meshery and look more about Meshery, know more about Meshery on this particular website, meshery.io. And we will discuss multiple things such as front end and back end in this particular call. So if you also have any kind of topics or agenda items, feel free to add this in the meeting minutes. And if you don't have access to these meeting minutes, make sure you have filled up the newcomers form and join the newcomers meeting to know more about how you can get access to this form, to these meeting minutes. With that, let's start with our weekly tradition to introduce newcomers on every call. So I see one newcomer on this call, Arya Bosle. So Arya, is this your first time joining this call?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Arya.
This is my
Welcome to
first
the
time.
call. Yeah, would like to introduce.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm a second year undergrad. I'm pursuing computer science and engineering. I am interested in open source. So I just wanted to get started with some open source project. I found Meshery to be interesting. So yeah, that's why I joined.
Yeah. Thank you, Arya. Thank you for your introduction. So Paul, is this your first time joining this call or you have been here?
I've been on a couple of other calls, but not this particular one.
Oh yeah, let's have your introduction then.
All right. My name is Paul. Yeah, I'm currently based in Kigali. Yeah, so I've been looking out for a while now and just exploring the community and seeing what's available.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Paul. So next up, I see Shubham Shah. So Shubham, have you been on this call or would like to introduce? If not.
I have been in one of the beginner calls, but I haven't got the chance to introduce myself. So I'm currently learning Golang backend, and I wish to contribute to layer 5 in upcoming weeks. So I'm here to learn and explore CNC. I'm actually an aspiring DevOps engineer, and I want to contribute to CNCF projects, and layer 5 seems to be a great community to be a part of. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shubham, for your introduction. So make sure you join Newcomers Call to explore more of the layer 5 projects of your interest. So with that, let's move to our today's topic. So first up, we have Ashish on mesh model components update. So Ashish would like to present.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So just to give a little bit of context on my topic. So we have been using for OAM format, Open Application Model format, for a while now, for the definition files that we have for our deployments, and we have been migrating to a different format, which is we right now we're calling it mesh models. So as this migration takes place, there are a bunch of there are a bunch of changes in the database design and the APIs which will be used to retrieve the components. And this is an open pull request over here, which makes those changes in the adds few extra mesh model tables and all. And the API changes are almost done. There were a few things that I needed discussion with. So since Abhi is here, I guess I can just I can just show what these endpoints return and whether those are good enough for UI. So if you'll just hit /API/mesh model/components, they will return all the definition files at once. If you so one of the ask was that for any given model, we needed the type of version supported and all. So now this can be from the perspective of UI. If this is needed, I can have this or I can remove this. So right now, if I hit /types, what I'm doing is that for each model, I'm returning basically a key value pair, which is where the key is the version name, and the value is how many components are there in that version. So UI will not have to make another /versions call in the /types call. Only it'll get all the available versions and how many components are there for that version. So if this is needed, then I can leave this as this is. And if this is not needed, then I can have something like, so for example, if I choose VMware Tanzu over here, so /API/mesh model/components, followed by, if I just type the name of the model, which in this case is I want to get all the components from this particular package. So if I hit that, it will return me all these components. So one of the other ways UI could have these things is to have another /versions endpoint, /versions appended to this particular endpoint. So /model name followed by /versions. The disadvantage would be, I think, is that if you need to get all the versions for, like, there would be, if there are n models, you'll have to make n such calls. So there would be a lot of calls. And to avoid that, I added the versions and some extra data that you might need over here. And if you need some more data over here, so that things can be rendered on UI, or basically something more. If you need more data from this particular, from let's say this particular thing, from this particular whole definition file, if you need some more data, like maybe the kind as well, then I'll add that. Other than that, there one thing is left, is that a trim flag is needed here, because this schema should not be returned at all times. Right now, so for example, when we want to just show the icon and show the name and models and everything, only these fields are used. When you drag and drop a component and when you start to configure it, the whole schema that is provided, this is an open API schema, which is basically all the CRDs, custom resources, Kubernetes resources, and they have this Swagger spec, or this open API spec, through which they expose their APIs, and they describe how they want the YAML file. So if either you use YAML or JSON or any format, what are the fields that they expect. So this is used to render an RJSF form. If you have used mesh map, you might have clicked on a node and that renders an RJSF form. The schema is used over there. So basically, trim flag will not send the schema, because we don't need the schema to push things in the design drawer. So yeah, that trim flag. And so yeah, so types would, to just summarize, types will return the name of the package, followed by how many versions, what are the versions inside of those package, and how many components are there in each version. And now from here, if I take Bitnami, and if I do this, it will return me all of the components. And then if I take the kind from over here, and then it will just give me for this particular kind. And later I can even filter it by using the version flag. The version flag is applicable at in the context of, basically, I can add version flag on the overall results as well. So either I can add a version flag over here like this, or on just the package level, I can have a version flag, or just at the components level, I can have the version flag. So the trim flag is needed to be added. So Abhi, what do you think? What else do you think UI would require?
Yeah, so actually, yeah, if you go to the the meeting minutes once again, and there is a gist written for the requirements in the second list. Yeah. So actually, what we have right now is almost complete. The third point is missing, which you just mentioned, right? And the fourth point, if you go, yeah. So based on, like, if we need, first of all, what are categories and subcategories, just to give the context. For example, let's take an example of Prometheus component. So it will fall under the category of monitoring, for example, right? So so that is the category and subcategory. So based on, I mean, in the first iteration, we may not require to get those all done right now, because they will need some manual help also to assign categories based on. I mean, that's one of the thing that is remaining for some components. So omitting it. So since we don't have the feature right now for the category and subcategory, right, Ashish? Just
Yeah. Yeah, for category, we have the updater will be adding actually category, sourcing it from the spreadsheet that we have. So we have an integration spreadsheet over here, and this integration spreadsheet is used to basically track all the components that we support. And over here, basically there are a few rows where the category is empty. So in those cases, we would need some default category or something. So if the category is not specified, then they should be grouped in some other way. But for things like like for example, for service mesh, for the components registered by the adapters, the category would be service mesh. For things like yeah, so here you can see these categories. So categories will be there, and yeah.
So as it's seen, some rows are empty, so better to omit it right now and just integrate once, like 90 to 95% of it is at least complete, right? So so based on it, like a note is very important in the bottom. So I think rest of the things you have already integrated in your in your PR you were just showing. So I think that's all the requirement from the UI consuming these APIs. So yeah.
Okay. Any other questions regarding any other? If anyone has any doubts regarding this thing, this change.
There's one item. I don't know that we have any folks that are into UX on the call. But if you are, as this additional metadata is put to use, like for all of the 300, 500 something components that Meshery manages, as those are categorized, just as an example, as those are categorized, we need Meshery UI needs to incorporate use of those categories so that users aren't scrolling through a list of like, 300 or 500 something components. Rather, there's some enhanced user experience that can be designed inside of Meshery UI. Specifically, there's an area of the UI called configuration. And I think that the name of the page is called designer, or it's often referred to as the design configurator, I believe. So under configuration, under this page called designs, as you either create a new design, all of the components that are available come into this, what would be like a really long drop-down list. And so you'd see them all there, and that would be really difficult. So there's no search. You got to imagine if you have that many components, probably want to search. You got to imagine that if you have that many components, you might want to browse by category first. If you're looking, Prometheus was mentioned a moment ago. So if you're looking for Prometheus and it falls under the telemetry, the monitoring, the metrics category, good, you might want to browse there. And then you'd have a shorter list of, Jaeger and Open Tracing and Prometheus and Cortex and, whatever would be inside there. It's a long way of saying, if you're into UX, there's Figma design files for the UI. And that's a great example of a here and now need. If you're into UI, the implementation of the front end, well, there's a here and now need to put in categories, like add another layer, a way of browsing through those components. Maybe there should be a component browser that's separate from designs themselves, like as just a page dedicated to let you peruse and browse and identify all, kind of look at the attributes of all these different components. And maybe that would be intertwined with the designs page, or the design configurator rather. So if any of that strikes an interest to people who are on the call, either chime in right now, ask questions later, mention it in Slack, go to the discussion forum and mention it there, or create a new issue or something, but signal and we'll get you some more info so you can pick it up.
Okay, so just as a quick note, every second Thursday, every other Thursday, we have a build and release call where we talk about things like CI, things like GitHub workflows and integration tests and unit tests and all those things. So I'm pasting a link to this meeting minutes in the chat box, and also on my in front of my agenda. So if you're interested in those things, join tomorrow. If you're not already subscribed to the calendar, you can subscribe to the calendar. Yeah, that was just a quick call for people for tomorrow's call.
Yeah, thank you, Ashish. So next up we have Abhi on similar topic, mesh model components API. So Abhi would like to share.
Yeah, actually, I think that's pretty much covered, and there is no extra requirement to cover it.
Yeah, okay,
I
then
mean,
we
if you
can.
want me to, go through it once again, then you can open the gist. Otherwise, I think Ashish covered all the parts.
Okay, yeah. So if anyone has more feedback or comments for Abhi or Ashish, they can ask now, or we can move to next item. So I think we can move to next item by Ruturaj. So Ruturaj would like to share.
Yeah, it's just an update saying I was working on adding the mesh model components to the adapters, but I think there's a little blocker on Ashish's side. He's going to make a mesh map release and changing some stuff around, and then happening with the other adapters.
Yeah, actually, just to actually summarize, Ruturaj took the charge for propagating the mesh model changes that I showed in Meshery across the adapters. But since I said that there were some database changes and all, so we need another mesh kit release, and after that he would be before the end of the week, he would be propagating the mesh model components that we have just in Meshery right now to all the other adapters as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, Rituraj and Ashish. So next up we have a topic by Utkarsh. So I don't think we have Utkarsh on the call. Do we? Nope. So
I think he mentioned in Slack that he was on for a moment, didn't have enough bandwidth. He's watching the live stream. So in about 10 seconds, he'll hear us talking about him.
Cool. So should we go through his PR? Real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so he has he's working on this particular issue. Boxes are not, so yeah, it's a CSS issue for responsiveness. He has made a PR for this. And he also has added a video. That's pretty great.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, just some notes to take from Utkarsh Mishra. A great way to get your PRs through the system and through the review and merged quickly is doing what he's doing. He's taking kind of before and after, not just screenshots, but also some videos as well. Really helpful for saving time for reviewers, both for maintainers and then for anyone else who drops by. You don't have to be a maintainer to review the pull requests. I mean, please review. It's a great way to learn. Even if you don't have a comment, but yeah, it's helpful, right? People love to get feedback. People So anyway, so just like, yeah, without even looking at the code, you can see that like, yeah, it's fairly clearly an improvement. He's making use of the width of the screen based on the size of the whole, that whole site needs, well, it needs a lot of its CSS jettisoned, thrown away. I think it's got a lot of extra CSS. I think some just bootstrap template stuff that isn't used, and it tends to muddle the minds of contributors because it just ends up being a lot of extra CSS. So again, a call out to those that are focused on UI. There's certainly help needed on the Meshery project site. Krishna Gupta, who's on the call now, is working on a dark mode for the site. And so he's been showing that the last couple of weeks on the website's calls on Monday. So with any luck, before this week is out, we would have a dark mode. That'd be great. Anyway, random note. So certainly the CSS needs to be looked at, but behavior-wise, Utkarsh's PR is looking pretty good.
Yeah, great work, Utkarsh. So yeah, I hope you're seeing the live stream. And so let's move to next item by Harshit on dark mode. So Harshit would like to share the dark mode for Meshery UI. Harshit, I see you are unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Cool. So, hey, so a little bit of context for what Harshit was going to show. Dark mode, that probably doesn't need a lot of explanation, but both Meshery UI and extensions that Meshery has, like MeshMap, could use a dark mode. Who doesn't like a dark mode? So not only is Meshery IO getting a dark mode, but so too, hopefully, are Meshery UI and MeshMap. Yeah, the cleaner the CSS, or the more consistent the approach in the way in which the React components are used and styles are applied, the easier it becomes to implement a dark mode. So one of Harshit's challenges is to make consistent the way that style is used. So right now the project is using MUI or Material UI version 4. Version 5 is out and has been out for some time. It has better support for theming, which would be a boon to this effort. The problem about just upgrading to MUI v5 is that, well, you also need to upgrade to React 17. And then you also need to update to Next.js 13, Next.js 13. And so the whole system has to be upgraded. Harshit, is that anything like what you might have were going to say? Yeah, your microphone is playing tricks on you. Just like my video camera played tricks on me with my bald spot. So very good. So Harshit is doing the right thing, or a helpful thing here as well, is taking screenshots, letting people know what's coming. I got to say, from my part, and by the way, everybody can and has a valid opinion on UI. Everybody's a consumer of the UI, so everybody's got an opinion. Don't hesitate to make comments here. I mean, one of the comments that I would make is that the colors are quite complementary, the grays. Yeah, Harshit, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, just sharing my screen now. So yeah, okay. So yeah, one thing I want to add that I am on the now. I reached on the RJSF form now. I can change the theme of RJSF now. I mean, before that we were using a separate theme for the RGSF form, which was not a good. I mean, we should not have a multiple theme as we discussed yesterday. So I'm changing, and yes, I'm able to control the theme now and change the colors according to the theme. So yes, this page will be done now soon. And also all the pages are done except this and that calendar page. So I think I'm very close now. Just I can change now and just need a coloring and little margin that need to be controlled here. So yes, so that's an update about that. I'm here now.
Yeah. So, Harshit, are you working with Harkrat on RJSF or on the forms here?
No, I have not contacted him yet. But yes, I'm just changing the margin and the size. But yes, I think now I should just contact him because now I can change the colors. So yeah,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
will ping him.
Yeah. Good. Or even in advance of that, he would have probably helped save you some time, and he certainly needs to review. So yeah, please do get a hold of him.
Okay. Okay. All the pages are done except this and one. So yes, I mean just the
Okay.
extension page.
Oh, really? Well, that means that you're probably ready for feedback and review from folks. So everything except for those forms, you think is ready for review, probably?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's just ready.
Okay.
Okay.
If you, great. Great. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, I think yeah, everything is ready. The settings was I don't know why I'm not even exist, but yes, it is ready. Yes, I mean nothing to say. Sorry.
What are your next steps here?
Next steps is here are that to change the calendar. We are using a React calendar, which is all I mean legacy a long time ago. So I have to change that from just something from MUI calendars. I mean here, if I show particularly, I think it was here. Just a minute, it is loading. Yeah, this calendar I was talking about. This calendar is legacy. We cannot change the internal colors. I mean, I'm facing difficulty in changing these components. So yeah, and it is very difficult to change from a theming. So and we are using a separate library, which is also a legacy. So I have to find from MUI to just replace this component. Except everything I got it covered everything.
Cool. Cool. And then the other thing I think we talked about a couple of times is you're going to make a call for review. You're going to document what it is that's left undone, which you're highlighting right now. You're going to point out how you're making the styles the approach to styling consistent, how that will fold into MUI v5 or not, and yeah, and then let's get it merged. Let's get your feedback going.
Okay. Yeah, before starting this theming, I think I had a discussion with Nikhil and he agreed with this approach. But yes, I think it's time to just have a little meeting again with him to just show all the process and to all of the Abhi also. So yes, I will do that then.
Now, Harshit, where's when you do send it out for broader review, please do point to where the plan is written down, like the approach that you've taken, and then the plan for upgrading. When MUI 5 comes.
Okay, great. I will document all of this thing then.
Nice. Any feedback for Harshit? Any other feedback for Harshit?
Yeah, I think first of all, that's a great work you have done here. Secondly, it would be great if you have the approach written somewhere, so we can give a review on the approach. So I think as far as it looks, I mean, what I can see, It's looking great. And I yesterday, I mean, I saw the code also. So there were a bunch of, I mean, there was so much, noise there because of the linting and all those things. So I mean, it's getting more important that you write your approach so that we can the reviewers can see through your actual work and not the yes linting files. So it would be a value addition to what you are doing right here.
Yeah, I absolutely got your point. Okay, then I think I will do that then. Okay, thank you, Abhi. Anyone else? Any suggestions? Any feedbacks?
I guess not. So we can move to next item.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Ashit. That was a good progress on dark mode for Meshery UI. So next up we have a couple of topics by Abhi. So Abhi would like to share. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, just 1 minute. So the first topic from yeah, first topic is execution of event source. So just for the context, we are using persistent HTTP connection to stream all the events back to the notification center. So this is the notification center that you are seeing, and I have got 2 events right now, just yet, because I just refreshed my browser and logged into Meshery. So let me do one thing that's getting in my way. So yeah, so so this is what the notification center is, and how it is getting all those messages in its places by there is an what I said is there is an persistent event source which pushes all the, I mean, the server pushes all its event into that event source, and that persistent that persistent HTTP connection accepts all the events coming from the server and shows back to the UI. I mean, sends back to the UI. So UI is showing in uh, with that. I mean, UI is showing those events to you in a prettified manner. So there was a problem with that event source that it was not getting fired because there we had some recent changes around adapters. I mean, earlier the condition was that yeah, let me open the code also. Earlier the condition for the event source to be instantiated is that you should have a Kubernetes config setup. I mean, you should have a Kubernetes config in your Meshery, and then you must have any of the mesh adapters available, and there's the adapters length should be greater than 0. So what saying that you should have any service mesh adapter running, as well as there should be a Kubernetes context also in your Meshery, connected with your Meshery. And yeah, so because there has been changes, and earlier for what the purpose of the code, I mean, earlier it was written as if this was the required thing, but now it's not like that, because we have many other hosted environments also where we may not have all the adapters running, or we may not have, I mean, we will be having the restricted access to the environment, and we may not have the Kubernetes cluster connected. So but still we want to have the event stream for us to get notified of all the events happening in the server. So that's why those things, I mean, that problem of not getting an instantiation over the event stream is fixed, and and there was yeah. So I think that's the update on the event source. And the second is fixing the build workflow in Meshery Cypress CA. So just to give a gist, we use Cypress to test the Meshery UI, and if you see here, so yeah, so although, I mean, what was happening earlier, that UI end-to-end test was not even fired. So the reason for not even firing was because the next build, I mean, before actually testing the Cypress, testing the source code, there has to be a build a command that actually builds the next step. So if you see the workflows build server.yaml, so here we are building the next step, and after that in one of the later steps we will run the Cypress, if you see here. So so actually the workflow was failing in that step only because of the node version changes. I mean, because there was these two scripts were written here. The reason being, I mean the problem lies within these two hard-coded script only, because there is, we are hard-coding that it should run npm run build and npm run export, but our makefile script for running and exporting the next step is actually more intelligent. It checks what the node version you are using, and based on it, so it will uh, run the build command and export command. So it is much intelligent than actually what it was written here earlier. So I think, yeah, that fixes the issue, because now it is checking the node version, and based on like which node version is used to build this next step, if it is 18, then it will be using an additional flag of OpenSSL, and if it is less than 17, 16, 14, 15, 13, so it won't use that SSL flag, because it was not available in the next node options in one of the previous releases of node versions. So that fixes this. So that was the second update, and the third update is around infinite token. So
Yeah,
if you see
Abhi, a comment, if I may, on your last item, which was, if for nothing else, one of the things that I consider to be a very good improvement is the use of the make command as versus just anything else. Largely, it's not because there's such a love for make files around here, but just because it's the consistency, it's the same commands that are run by any of us that are contributing to the projects, that if those are the same commands that are used programmatically during build time as well, then all the builds are consistent, and consistency equals quality. And so it's great. So I think in part what you were letting everyone know is that there had been a challenge around node version 18 and OpenSSL and compatibility somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Are we on, has the project moved to node 18 now then, as of these changes?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, the project has moved to version 18, and
Gotcha.
it has successfully moved, but there were some few places here and there where it was left. And and these are the actually places. I mean, that was the one of the places.
One of those places might have been the Meshery extension for Docker, or the Docker Meshery extension. It's not always obvious. There's lots and lots of workflows that go around this project. And I know that's largely the subject of tomorrow's build and release meeting. But just quick confirmation, what were the scripts for, were the workflows for building the extension updated as well? I think there's just one workflow for the extension.
Docker extension, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was already in its place.
Okay.
So that was already using LTS, and that was the source of all the problems that we have right now.
Okay.
Because it was not hard coded, it was LTS. So it moved abruptly to Node 18 when Node 18 was released as an LTS. So from there, we made quite small patches to fix that problem. With respect, fixing that problem, we introduced some side effects with Node version 16 in all the rest of the workflows. So I think that's already been fixed. So most probably I don't see the failure there, but if there is, like, I'll see through it once. Okay. I think the last issue is redirection. So if you see, you can use Meshery in your workflows also. By workflow, I mean you can use Meshery to do any kind of performance testing, or later, I mean, building any kind of, I mean, doing using the features that Meshery provide in your workflow. So that will always require an authentication token for the API to give you the proper support of what's there in the database for you. So for that, you may require authentication token. So that's the authentication token, and you can create the token and get the token, etc., etc. So all the tokens you will be written here are as of yet infinite tokens. So once you get it, once you download it from here, so it will be used, it can be used in your GitHub workflow, and it will be persisted by the time you don't delete that manually. So for example, I created an OAuth 2 token for the doing nothing right now, but yeah, I can download the token and add it in my GitHub workflow. And the time I realize that it's enough, like I need to generate a newer one, I can delete it and generate a newer one for doing anything else. So actually the problem is that whenever you are using that OAuth token, so in the Meshery UI only, that's the problem of the Meshery UI only, you are, even if you are using infinite token, you are redirected to the login page. So that is defying all the purpose of the infinite token itself, because you need to log in again when you already have the infinite token. So that thing is fixed. So Uzair suggested a solution to this issue, where the introspect token code is actually creating all the problems. So that was the quick fix. I mean, that was the quick fix, by the way. By means, it is like, it's not the permanent solution. So there is the second peer that he has opened, and it has some more conditional checks, and I mean it's better in terms of like all the cases covered. So I had to review that code. I have to review it and check if that works with the Cypress environment and everywhere else. So I think, yeah, that's the last topic that I had. Have comments?
Hey, Root Raj, question for you. I wonder if there aren't a bugger, if there isn't a bug or two with respect to those, the ability to create non-expiring tokens. Do you, Abhishek, do you mind, would you humor me and try to create one now? Maybe the first time you do, if you click the create token and you don't offer a name or a purpose.
Oh yeah, let me spin up my clone.
Okay.
It's not creating it.
And then, yeah, okay, that's. It would be nice if we could count on users being competent and like typing in values into the fields. Unfortunately, there are users out there like Lee who just are really lazy and don't bother to type in anything, click the button. So yeah, Root Raj, you've got what you need there to go have a look at that, I suspect.
Yeah, can you just, what is the intended behavior?
Oh, that probably, well, it could be one of a couple of things. Either we let a message is sent back saying that there's form field validation that basically doesn't let the user submit without typing in a name, and that would be front end item. And there would also need to be on the back end to sort of handle that gracefully without a 500 error, but rather some other appropriate HTTP code responding back saying, hey, you need to give this thing a name. Alternatively, not only should there be some front-end validation potentially, or just skip the front-end validation and just when someone submits for a token that with no name or no description, just generate one for them. And hand in hand. Yeah, so Mario's got a great question. That's kind of an intriguing thought. And I believe that the answer to Mario's question, I believe, is yes, or rather, Raj, you could maybe confirm. There's a REST API for creating tokens. And so while users can use Meshery UI as a client and take a valid token that they have, maybe it's just a session token, and they can create new tokens using this UI. The same should also be true of just having a script that has a valid token and then is used to generate more tokens. Mario, is that the scenario that you're thinking of?
Correct.
I believe that that is true. It's a feature. I mean, like I say that jokingly. I mean, it is a feature, although if it's an insecure feature, there's some things that we should be considering around this. What are your initial thoughts about how the system maybe should behave? Like potentially restricting token creation to Meshery UI as a client and not necessarily scripted clients, or restricting the ability to create a token using a when the user signs into the UI, they not only do they get an OAuth token, but they get a Meshery session, which is, they get a Meshery session. They also get a cookie. When you think about cloud providers and how you interact with AWS or Azure, or it's a good point of reflection to consider whether or not those systems allow you to programmatically generate new tokens. I've certainly used systems that do, although that doesn't mean that they were secure. So, other thoughts there, Mario?
Not for now. I mean, it all depends to like what level of access these tokens are granted. And there's no implementation of scopes. So once that's in place, we can revisit security aspects.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, I think I think you're right. Especially, yeah, I mean, like when there are scopes, if someone has a small scoped token that maybe is allowed to create other tokens, and in that moment that they're creating those tokens, that they can generate one with a broader scope, then yeah, you've got some privilege escalation happening, and yeah. It's a good note. What's next?
Yeah, so moving on to next item is by me. So it's a feature request for having a download design in Meshery UI. Since we have a download of design file in mesh map, so we should also have it under the designs page as well as in the design configurator. So I will create a PR, or like I'll open a good first issue for that.
So Gaurav, say it again. That was to implement what? A clone?
Oh yeah, no, a download design. So we are downloading design in mesh map, but not in the designs page under Meshery UI.
Yeah, really? Okay, yeah. It makes sense. That's a great feature. I mean, not that I need to approve that or anything, but
Yeah.
if you go back to designs, I'm curious if you go to the table view, I wonder if you check mark one of those designs. All right. Just you only have the ability to delete, not download. And then if you go, what's that globe for?
Publish.
Okay.
Anyway, the delete should, I mean, if we add the delete action into the actions menu itself, it will be populating it for no reason, because you can, open the design just by clicking C. I mean, yeah, you can click on the table menu and you will open the design and you'll see the YAML. So uh and there has been options like deleting it and saving or updating it. So there should be an option to download it just to the left of the save. It will be much more cleaner, I think, instead of adding it into the actions. So there we will have then 6 sections and all those in the
Yeah.
big flat button. So yeah.
I had a suggestion. Maybe we could have an ellipsis at the end of the actions. Maybe we can have 4 icons there and then ellipsis.
Yeah,
You click on them and
that
you get
makes
more
more
options.
sense.
Yeah, and currently if we add the download functionality, it will just it's in the mesh map, it's downloading just the YAML. So eventually what we need to do is to convert them into OCI compatible images. So we also need to do a bit of workaround on that. Yeah, so any more comments or any items? If not, we can move to next topic. So next topic is a call for volunteer for Meshery UI refactoring. So we need a feature champion in this particular effort. So currently we are at .6.28 version for Meshery UI, and in parallel to it, we are refactoring whole Meshery UI with some proposals, and this is a particular branch for refactoring. Let me share the link in chat. So we are using Material UI 5 and React 17 or 18 with Redux as a state management tool. So if you are into front end, love doing JavaScript, feel free to engage in this particular effort, and do let us or any of the maintainers in Slack or anywhere in the Discuss forum. So if you would like to engage in this particular effort, you can just see the state management implementation tracker, and you can pick up any of the component which is not implemented from the current Meshery UI, and you can just add your names against it and create a PR for this. Yeah, so with that, let's move to next item by Uzair or Abhi on re-add, revoke, and introspect support for JOT. Abhi would like to share? Or,
yeah, actually you can open the link. Actually I've already discussed it. So
Oh,
the one that I discussed
it
for
was
the
with the
infinite token,
Cypress.
yeah,
Okay.
Uzair I think added it in his meeting minutes before I did. So I did
Yeah.
see it coming.
Okay, cool then. So with that, let's move to items on end-to-end test or CI. So Avi would like to quickly cover these points, or we should discuss something.
There's just a quick time check. Another item that might be quick to cover is just whether or not everybody that's on the call, whether they're using the projects or contributing to them, that if anybody's got any questions or, features that are egregiously missing or areas that they're trying to contribute to, but are struggling with, or certainly the newcomers call tomorrow is a great place for this same discussion, but I figured since we just have a minute left, anybody have any questions or comments, topics before we close out today? Abdullah, did you have an open PR? Oh, an open issue. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so if anyone don't has any topic or any doubt to discuss, so now, so they can also create a discuss account and add your doubts or questions in the discuss forum. Let me share the link in chat. Yeah. So feel free to ask any kind of questions or doubts in the discuss forum. So with that, I guess we are on time today. We can call this a wrap.
Nice. Oh, thanks for hosting, Garth. It's nice to see you all.
Thank you all for joining today. We will meet next week, same time, same place.
And tomorrow, newcomers call and the build and release meeting too. So you'll have to put your turkey and stuffing away if Thanksgiving is a thing for you. So, or fine, bring it to the call. Thanks, Garth. See you all.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.